Simon, it's not the news that any county fan will wanted to hear ahead of Christmas. Louie Barry will be returning to Villa Park in January. What can you tell us about that decision from Villa and what the future looks like for Louie now?
Yeah, so no, disappointing decision on our part, but we knew it was coming in terms of, we had good dialogue with Aston Villa all the way through, and knew that they were going to make in fairness to us, an early decision, so we had a bit of clarity. But yeah, their decision is to bring Louis back for immediate consideration by Unai Emery in the Aston Villa squad. For the games throughout January. I think it'll be a period of assessment. It's not uncommon for clubs to do that. And then from that point forward, it's kind of down to Louis and Aston Villa.
What's been, I suppose, your reaction and the club's reaction to that news? Because you mentioned disappointment there to losing, but there must also be pride when you look at the development that he's had during his time here as well.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. It's a real mixture of emotions because Louis has been here quite a long time now. And I was actually out with Mark and Johnny. We were at a dinner on the day when we got the news from Aston Villa, so we had a little bit of a mourn together. But you're right. We got into the conversation about what a fantastic journey that he's had. I think that most of that credit has to go to Louis, and I think that it's been a real pleasure, firstly, to watch him play. He's been a really exciting player for our team. He's been a brilliant teammate. He's really embraced our club and this opportunity. I think we've embraced him too. I think we've really enjoyed a brilliant kind of period together, and I think he's really improved in so many of his aspects. But again, like, a lot of that credit has to go to Louis.
He's of course had 4 long spells before coming to Edgeley Park where it's maybe not quite worked out for him yet, but the progress he's made here to be leaving as the leading goal scorer in League One, that must be a real feather in your cap now when it comes to going to other clubs and trying to convince them to send their best young players to Edgeley Park.
Look, I don't think we take credit on Louis' performance particularly we don't compare anything to anything before. It's just our time with Louis here. We don't see ourselves as better than the clubs that Louis was at before that he came to us, nor do we see ourselves as worse for players like Will Fish or Vít Aris that have gone on to do quite well after having initial spells at County. That said, yeah, we have had some phone calls. We have had some conversations about really talented, expensive Premier League type players that we're now on their radar for sure, and we have a success case that we can point to and say, this is what it looks like when it goes really well. So it's certainly not unhelpful to have had this spell, and it helps build trust when we can show just how well it's gone with Louis.
The big question on everyone's lips right now will be how do you go about replacing a player like Louie Barry? I assume you'll have prepared for the worst case scenario should this situation arrive. So what will that look like?
We've talked about it a lot. Of course, as you'd expect, Louis had a significant impact in our on-field performance this year, as well as our off-field. This group, he scored what is it, 14 goals, I think, out of our 34, 35, something like that. So it's a big contribution, but it doesn't quite work with that those 14 goals go missing. That the teams evolve, they find different ways to play. Different players step up. We have to evolve the team anyway. If Louis was to stay, you can see how people are responding to playing against us with Louis in the team, and we would have to evolve our way of playing anyway. And that will be the case in any way. I don't think, whilst we might want to go and try and find players that have got similar tactical and technical qualities to Louis, we're not going to go and find a winger that can do what he does that scored 14 goals. That's just not going to be available in the market. So we're going to have to be creative, we're going to have to be adaptable, but we have got, for example, our leading goal scorer has been on the bench a lot of the time this year, who certainly can come in to the team and contribute, as can other players we believe have got goals in them. It was a similar situation last year where Lou was scoring a lot, came out of the team when we adapted and ended up being a really successful team last year. Happens at the top of the game with people like Harry Kane. It happens all the time. It's about us being adaptable. We're really thankful for the time that we've had with Louis, and his impact has been brilliant. Now it's time for someone else's turn.
As you say, it should be said, last season you lost him for a large part of the season. for different reasons, of course, still go on to win the League Two title. That must give you a lot of confidence in terms of that ability to adapt, particularly because you do find yourself, of course, in a great position to kick on in the second half of the season.
Yeah, look, exactly that. We've got one of the things I think about our staff and our players. We build the squad in an adaptable way, and I think our staff are brilliant in terms of coming up with different ways to be a threat in every game. And I've got full confidence that they will do that again. I personally never go down the line of trying to find a 30-goal striker a year. I think that just happens. I think you've got to get your team to score, and we've got to find a way that our team continue to score at a high rate. But thankfully, every year we've been here, we are one of the highest scorers in the league. For those that will look into it, the XG is always within the top two or three in the league. We're a team that creates a lot of attacking opportunities. So I've got full confidence we'll continue to score goals at a really high rate.
Still 3 big games to come before he leaves, of course. I'm sure he'll get a very special send-off on New Year's Day against Birmingham. But how important was it, I suppose, to be able to communicate this decision early and, I suppose, cut the noise out and allow everyone to focus on those 3 big games?
Yeah, totally right. That's the reason we were really keen to do this early, from everyone's impact. He's been a huge factor, and it's something that people are going to want to talk about. We want to talk about it too. He's been brilliant, and we want to celebrate what he's done, the progress that he's made, and the opportunity that he now's got. That's a brilliant thing. We want to mourn it a little bit. It is a bit sad. We're going to have to get over it. We're going to have to move on. But it's exactly that. It's about moving on. It's about now the focus is after today. This is why I wanted to do it today. No more questions, no more chat about it now. We move on with the group that we've got, and we focus on going and get the best results for Stockport County. I think we've got a terrific squad of players, great staff, and I think that we completely focus on that now.
Just finally, whilst we have you here, when you look at the position you find yourself in now, heading into Christmas, how pleased are you with what's been achieved so far this season, and what would, I suppose, a successful second half of the campaign look like for you now?
Yeah, look, I certainly at this time of the year, I'm not going to get too influenced by league table. I think that our challenge was this year to progress. We've had some really successful times here, so that was not an easy thing to do, to try and take another step. Our end goal is to be not in League One. We would like to be higher than that. So we know that we've got to make a lot of progress in order to do that. And that's what this year was about, taking that next step, making progress. How we signed in the summer, some things we did around the staff, some things we did around the environment, was all about raising our ceiling so that we had a higher potential to grow. I think we've made some steps towards that. I think we've improved. I don't think we're anywhere near where we need to be or what our potential is. We've seen, and as you've seen, or supporters would have seen, this team at the moment and this group can be really talented. We've had some top games and some top performances, but there is still some inconsistency in terms of in games between first half, second half, from game to game. We need to iron that out. I'm really looking forward to seeing. I'm curious to see how we do in this next half of the season and whether we continue to improve on those aspects, our resilience, our bravery, but I've full confidence. We really like the players and like the staff that we've got. We think that we can make the step, and it's about waiting and working hard.
Really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, Sam, and have a great Christmas.
Cheers, Liam.